Welcome back to An Audience of One by Gendiversity, in which we deliver spiritually uplifting and motivational content to individuals who need a reminder that they have worth, that they have value, and a gift that they need to share with the world. And that regardless of how many mistakes they've made in their lives, that it's never too late to make today the day that they change their lives. Life is full of challenges. Even if you're not trying to do anything exceptional, life is going to be difficult. People are difficult, relationships are difficult, jobs are difficult, growing old is difficult, the weather is difficult. You can hide away in a cabin in the woods, and you're still going to face trials. So what do you think is going to happen when you're trying to accomplish great things and advance your character, your goals, and your spirituality? The more exceptional you're trying to be in your life, the more exceptional the challenges that you're going to face, because you need those challenges to help you to become the person that you're trying to be. If you want to increase your patience, then you're going to have to go through events that are going to test your patience. And it's through striving through those difficulties that allows you to increase your capacity for patience. If you want to develop courage and bravery, then you're going to have to face scary things, because it's you're striving against the fears that you have inside of you that helps you to develop that courage and that bravery. You want wealth? Well, it's hard to develop wealth without risking the wealth that you currently have. You want to develop your trust and your faith in God? Then you're going to have to go through situations that would cause somebody to waver in their faith and their trust in God. But through your belief in those moments that are extremely difficult, that would cause most other people to waver, is what helps you develop those traits. So by the very nature of you trying to improve yourself, you have to embrace the fact that you're literally walking into these trials. They're not just happening to you. So as you desire certain things, you're oftentimes going to be placed in situations that would make you other than what you're trying to strive for, because it's through those very trials that helps you to become that person. Now, on top of you trying to strive and better yourself, there's going to be all sorts of random trials that are going to hit you from out of nowhere, trying to knock you off of your trajectory, be it unexpected financial, health, relationship, or other issues that may arise. Now, the problem with all of these difficulties that you're inviting into your life by trying to strive to be a better person in all of these different areas, and all of these different random trials that seem to just batter you and distract you from what you're trying to do, is that eventually these things can wear somebody down. And that's because each person, regardless of their individual capabilities, has a limit for the amount of stress that they can handle. And some of these events just on their own can be enough to test somebody, but when you start combining all of them together, they can really push somebody to their limits. And when our limits are tested, that can cause us to start to deviate in our character from the principles that we're trying to maintain and develop. So while these different trials that are inevitably going to come and batter you as you try to strive to develop yourself, develop your character, develop your spirituality, and chase after your goals, you have to be able to meditate in the middle of the storm. What that means is that you have to be able to maintain your cool while you're striving to accomplish all of your goals, despite being battered by all of these different trials, some of which are coming out of nowhere as you travel through this journey. That no matter what happens to you, that you have faith and trust in God and trust in His plan, and that you recognize that you don't truly know what's good for you and what's bad for you. And that every event, regardless of what happens, is an opportunity. And it's not what happens to you, but it's how you react to the things that happen to you. You have to train yourself to maintain your calm in these situations and keep a level head as you fight to not give in to these feelings of anger, frustration, and stress. And it's important in the middle of these situations that you take a moment to be able to step back and breathe so that you can look at these situations rationally instead of just reacting to them emotionally. As emotional reactions to stressful situations rarely are of any benefit and can oftentimes lead you down a path towards detrimental activity that makes the situation worse. You need to remain level-headed because, again, it's not so much what happens to you as it is how you react to the situations that do happen to you. And it's hard to make the right decision in a situation when you're in a state of panic or anger. If you have faith in God, you have to have trust in God's plan and recognize that everything happens for a reason and that there's an ultimate wisdom behind it. The problem is that we as humans oftentimes feel as if we understand the wisdom behind an event that happens to us, even if we don't necessarily word it as such. And that's because we typically label an event as being good or bad. And it's hard to label an event as being good or bad unless you attach some meaning to it. So your car breaks down. obviously this is bad, or so you think. You get out of work early, and obviously this is good, or so you think. And this is because we see things through the lens of our desires. We want something to happen. So if something we want or desire to happen happens, must be good. And if something we don't want to happen or don't desire to happen happens, must be bad. The problem is, sometimes there's something that you desire, but it's actually bad for you. You get out of work early, which is great. Everybody likes getting out of work early. You get on the road, and then you're in a severe accident. That accident, had you stayed at work to the full time you were supposed to be there, never would have happened because you wouldn't have been on the road at that time. Yet you were. And now you're in this severe accident, which has caused you an immense amount of harm. So you have an event that appears to be of fortune, but ends up actually being of misfortune. And there's countless examples that could be made to this effect. And likewise, sometimes there's something that you dislike and don't want to happen, but it does. And you think it's bad for you, but it's actually good for you. Your car breaks down. Now you're stuck on the side of the road. You're thinking, I don't have money for these repairs. When the reality is that your car broke down, and had it not broken down, you would have been in the accident that was described before. Throughout history, people have been excited about events that have caused their downfall and devastated by things that have saved them from tragedy. Someone missed their flight on a plane that crashed. Someone else was excited because they got cheap tickets to take their place. Even these examples are taken at face value because you have no real idea what are the true effects of the events that you go through, regardless of if they seem good or if they seem bad. Sometimes there's blessings in disguise of things that appear to be tragedies for us. And likewise, there's things that we could rejoice at, which in the future could end up being harmful. At the end of the day, you have no idea where your path is going to lead, except that you know that it eventually is bringing you to your death. You have to understand that life is a journey, not a destination. And that journey is not about the individual events that happen, but about who you become along the way. And who you become along the way is created by how you react to the events, the obstacles, and the trials that you have to face. You can't get too upset about an event that you don't know the end effect of or where it will lead you to. Your university experience arguably changed your life. And the only reason why you went to the university that you went to was because someone of your very same name got your acceptance letter to the university you wanted to go to, and you received their denial letter. So you gave up on going to that school, and by the time someone alerted you of the mistake, there was no more housing. So it was impossible for you to go to your initial choice, which at the time felt devastating. But you wouldn't be who you are today had you not gone to the university that you went to. And that was only made possible by an event that at the time you thought was devastating. Only God knows what would have happened to you had you taken that different path. Had it been facilitated for you, who would you have become? What would you have believed? Where would you have lived? Who would you have married? There are many things that you have right now that you wouldn't have had you taken a different path, like your children, for example. And so as the song goes, thank God for unanswered prayers. You have to stop looking at the things that happen to you in your life through the lens of good and bad and start looking at them as just interesting and as opportunities. They are opportunities for you to grow into who you are meant to become. You have the choice every day as to how you're going to react to the tests, the trials, and the obstacles that you have to face on a day-to-day basis. You can't control all of what happens to you. You get in a car accident, or you roll over a screw and you get a flat tire. Your battery dies at the most inopportune time. Your flight's delayed due to mechanical failure. You catch a virus and now you're sick for a week. You can't control these things, but you can control how you react to them. You could be filled with anger, or you could exhibit patience. You could show faith and trust in God's plan, or you could be yelling as to, why am I being punished? Why is this all happening to me? Reacting negatively always sets you back. You can't think clearly when you're filled with anger or panic. And you can't function when you have lost all faith and trust in God and fallen into despair. None of these actions are going to put you in a position where you're going to be able to develop your character or excel in your efforts towards any of your goals. Reacting negatively to events that appear to be negative feels natural. I mean, you'd find it odd if you found some guy at 2:30 in the morning in the middle of nowhere, stranded because he popped 2 tires on his Maserati, and he pops out of the car with a smile on his face saying, Well, it happened for a reason. Just got to trust in God. We find people like this odd, but there's no doubt as to why. People like that are going to be more successful in their lives than the individual who's kicking his tires and screaming and shouting up into the sky, "Why'd God do this to me?" But again, how do you actually know that something that happened to you is positive or negative? The answer is that you don't, because when a rock hits the water, those ripples go a long way before they reach the shore. And likewise, the effects of an event that happens to you today may not be realized till many years down the road, and you may never truly know the end effects of any given event and the true nature of whether it was positive or negative towards you in your life. So you need to get out of this mindset of this is good and this is bad and start recognizing things for what they are, and that they are an experience and that they are opportunities, and that the goodness or the badness in any event is truly measured in how you react to them. And when you're able to do this, then you'll be able to find calmness while the storm rages around you. When you consider that the struggles and the trials that happen to you are what make you who you are, then you can realize that the struggles and trials that happen to you are the opportunities that allow you to become who you want to be. And so the events that seem to be negative should actually be embraced by you, because they are exactly the opportunities that you need to become who you want to become. Could you imagine the next time disaster strikes and someone sees you in what appears to be a devastating situation and they ask, "Why are you smiling?" To which you respond, "I've been waiting for a situation which would allow me to develop my patience and my perseverance and my faith in God and His plan, and finally my prayers have been answered." Most people would argue that you've lost your mind. I'd argue you finally conquered it. A lot of times we become frustrated with what happens to us because it's attached to the success or failure of what we're trying to accomplish or attain. But you have to stop thinking that who you are is attached to what you accomplish and what you attain. Who you are is who you are. And who you are is established by how you act, not just physically, but internally. Life is like a challenge in a video game. You don't see it as a tragedy whenever the character in the video game is befallen by some obstacle. You merely see it as a challenge that's required to advance their level in the game. On the flip side, not everything good that happens to us is actually good. Sometimes it could be bad. And sometimes it's not because it's bad in and of itself, but how we react to the good that does happen. We should be cautious in all that happens to us which appears to be good, and that it doesn't cause us to become lax. We see things that we desire to happen to us as being good, but many a man has been led to his destruction by getting exactly what he wants. Money, success, fame, all come with their own problems, not the least of which is that you become comfortable and let your guard down, when in reality these are the situations in which we should be doubling down on our efforts that helped us to get where we got. And that's why it's rare to see somebody who's been blessed down on their knees, begging for God's assistance. It's oftentimes the person who's been afflicted with some sort of apparent harm that then turns to God and seeks assistance. Even the most hardened of souls can turn to God when tragedy strikes. There's a reason why they say there's no atheist in a foxhole. So we should be careful not to allow these moments of ease to cause us to forget ourselves and our efforts. This is not only because we feel at ease during these times and it's easy to let our guard down, but also because we can fall into the trap of believing that our success is truly because of our own efforts and our own efforts alone. But regardless of the events that happen around us, whether they appear to be good or they appear to be bad, we have to be able to remain calm and meditate in the storm of events that are happening. We need to remain calm and have perspective throughout the trials that life throws at us, even when the trial is that we feel as if no trials are present. There are going to be times when the hurricane is raging around us and the trials are clear and obvious. But don't be fooled when everything seems calm, when in reality you're just in the eye of the storm. And those trials, although they may not be obvious, will still be there. And those ones that are clear and obvious will most certainly come back. Meditate in the storm and see the trials for what they are. They're events for you to experience and opportunities for you to grow. Their true nature is only known by God, so never allow yourself to get too high nor too low with regards to how these events are affecting your life or how your inner self feels about whether they're desirable or not. Know that with hardship comes ease, and there's always a silver lining. And know that God doesn't burden a soul with more than it can bear. When you're going through great trials, it can be hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel or the wisdom behind it. And so oftentimes we're left feeling like, why is this happening to me? When in reality, we should be asking, what is overcoming this preparing me for? We see the results in people. We don't see the preparation that was required to make them who they are or to help them accomplish what they accomplished. The events that happen in your life are the opportunities for you to prepare. So use them to prepare you to be somebody great. Don't fear the difficult events. You should be embracing them, because the more difficult the event, the quicker it's going to help you to develop into the person that you're trying to become. And in this way, you'll be able to meditate in the middle of the storm, because we are in more need of the version of you that makes it to the other side than we are in need of the version of you that sinks with the ship because you panicked in the storm.